I'm Catherine Ross. I'm here live from the floor of the NYSE with Jim Cramer. Jim, President Trump is speaking at the New York Economic Club this afternoon. So let's take this from an investing education angle.
Sure.
When we've got a speech that's going to move the markets, how should investors respond?
Well, I think that you have to be ready with cash, because Carl Quintanilla said this morning that we are at the lowest cash levels in a long time. That is not good, because that means if there's any sort of glitch with the narrative that we're going to have a trade deal, then there's going to be a quick sell-off, and you want to be ready. We felt like we should raise some cash this morning because of this. We just feel a little bit, that's fractional alerts, a little bit naked.
This morning you wrote a Real Money column that focused on Project Nightingale, but also brought in the other big tech names that have kind of...
But Google's up today, Alphabet's up today. Look, one of the things that we've learned is don't look at the way the stocks first act. I mean, what tends to happen is the press breaks news, and then an attorney general or a Congress investigates. So when you see the news breaking and the stock's up, do not confuse that with what's about to occur. And what's about to occur is an investigation by Project Nightingale. And I think people don't understand that just because the stock rallies does not mean that the company is out of the woods. If anything, it's worse.
I actually want to quote you.
They should not. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I want to quote you from that article. You say, use the old adage that I was taught by my lawyers. How would this look on the front page of the New York Times? If the answer is terrible, then don't do it.
Right. I mean, a lot of times people say, what's the smell test, okay? And that doesn't tell you. Who knows what the smell test is? But if you're involved with Project Nightingale, I think you should have been thinking, wow, what if a reporter from the New York Times found out about this? Would it look good? It was done in secret with it, and then someone else would say, hey, but look, the Catholic the Catholic hospitals said it was fine, and their ascension is very high, no ascension. But that doesn't make it fine. See, Apple said that Goldman thought that the men-women disparity was fine. I mean, no. It's the test of the newspapers. And I've been very bloodied in my career. I've been bloodied many, many times. But I'm still here. And I'm still here in large part because I recognize that you have to think what would happen if you're on the front page of the New York Times. And that's the way to keep out of trouble. I mean, that you always think the recipe is front page of the New York Times, U.S. attorney, So that's what you have to be thinking. And these people are, when I just speak to a lot of them, Catherine, and they're very young people, and they're all very nice and well-meaning. And I find myself in my advanced years saying to them, well, you're a nice young person. And one day you'll discover why you're in the Kesselring, which is or the Kesselschlacht, these are a cauldron, German for cauldron. And when you're in the Kesselschlacht, what you realize is that you never saw it coming, and suddenly you're in a cauldron, and you don't know how to get out of it. So you never want to be in the cauldron, and it comes from. I've just been around, and there's some benefits to being older, and one of the benefits is that I say to these people off record, they'll tell me why they're right. Okay, it's always pretty interesting. Here's why I'm right, Jim. And I'll say, that's an abstraction. This is the way it's going to look. And they say, no, but Jim, I'm right. And I say, but that doesn't have anything to do with the outcome. And they're all pretty young. And they tend to say the same thing about me, which is that, well, he's lost touch. Actually, they have not a clue. Not only have I not lost touch, but because I've been involved in multiple civil wars, I completely understand what's going to happen to these people. And they're very naive. And their naivete is complicated by their arrogance and by their Stanford comp sci, and by the fact that they don't have lawyers who say, whoa, I don't want you to do that. They're very unrestrained. So it's painful for me because what will happen is I'll find myself interrupting them. I'll say, that's not how it's going to come down. And then they'll say, well, Jim, if you understood this industry or you didn't understand that industry. And I laugh and I say, fine, I'm not going to help you. I was willing to help, but you really don't understand. these are front page of the New York Times.
But
and
that's
read bad.
I gotta ask, is this, you just said that they're all young, so maybe they don't remember what the front page of the New York Times looked like when it landed on your doorstep. Is that why they're not so afraid of this news breaking on the front page?
Well, they should understand that this is about the government, okay? The government, I learned when I was a homicide reporter and covered crime. I also covered white-collar crime. If you break a story, your sole goal is to get the government to come in and look at it. So it really doesn't matter if it's the New York Times or Wall Street Journal. It's like Project Nightingale, there is some U.S. attorney right now or state attorney general right now that says, if someone else doesn't act on Project Nightingale, I will. And how they didn't know that? Well, it's simple. They're young. They have no benefit of wisdom or age, no benefit of no governor, and they think they're dead right at all times because the algorithm says it. Or, and look, I don't work there. I don't work at these places. If I did work at the places, or I were advising them, I would say, listen, we got to fire everybody who touched this. And then we go to the government and we say, we threw them all under the bus. Because that's ultimately what happens. Should it? It doesn't matter. That's another thing that I learned from my lawyers. Like, I used to argue, but I'm right. You know I'm right. And my lawyer would say, what does that have to do with it? Why do you continue to persist with that line when the U.S. attorney... Now, I never got in trouble with the Justice Department, which is terrific, but that's because I had great lawyers. These people must have lawyers that they roll. You don't roll my lawyers. They roll you. And I just find that all this is just astonishing to me, that there's no grown-up who says, well, what would Project Nightingale look like? Secret pact between the Ascension healthcare system and Google to give them all of your medical information. I told Tim Cook, I said, listen, you ought to buy Cerner, because I think if you could get big data together, you could figure out, maybe 10 million people, you could figure out when someone's going to have a heart attack. They said, well, that's privacy. That's the right answer.
Let's switch gears. Disney Plus officially launched today, and I know that I, as many other people on Twitter, are very much looking forward to sitting down tonight and watching The Mandalorian.
Yeah, but why? It's one-off. That's it. Did you look at the rest?
I mean, there's like 7,500 episodes. There's 5, not of The Mandalorian.
Don't even binge it. Just one at a time, and let me know how it is.
That's better for me, because otherwise I sit there and I watch full seasons. Ask my roommate. I went through the full season of Scandal in like 4 days.
I'm busy working. No, I looked at it, and I said, okay, maybe there's something there. And that's how I feel about everything. I look at Amazon, maybe there's something there. I look at Netflix, maybe there's something there. I'm much more of a desultory viewer. If I hear something like from my sister that something's really good, like Bodyguard or something, Line of Duty, I'll buy that. I'll buy it one-off. But my kids would say, we have Netflix and we can't afford everything. Now, my kids they're on their own in terms of finance, particularly my eldest, and they're very frugal. They're not going to spend like $50 a month on stuff.
Which is why Disney Plus is great. $7.
But how about all the others that they have?
Well, if you want to do the joint package with Hulu and ESPN, that's what, $12?
Yeah, but they don't watch ESPN, and they want to watch Netflix, and they want to watch HBO.
So you mean like the total? Yeah, I saw that on Twitter. Those costs add up. They're like $72.
Just, my kids just don't have that kind of money, and they're not going to come to Dad to say, "Listen, Dad, I need money for these." Now, are my kids emblematic? I think so.
Jim, but Disney has been fielding questions about Star Wars fatigue for years now, and I'm wondering
there are millions of people that this is valuable to. If you put me in the Wayback Machine with my kids when they were 6 and 3, I'd pay them double for this package. Double, triple. It's fantastic. It just has to do with age. Disney is not necessarily a product that I want, but it's a necessity, like ESPN Plus is a necessity for me because of bull market fantasy and because of my desire to win fantasy every week.
All right, so I want to move on because I do want to ask you before we go about CBS. They released earnings this morning. Should you buy CBS before they merge with Viacom?
We buy Viacom. We just say own Viacom, get the good yield. They just have the worst expense structure in the world. and they have to spend a lot of money. But once they merge together, I think there's going to be, you know, the stocks, you know, the multiple's way too low, and the arbitrage will end, and then you'll have a good stock.
All right, guys, and of course, we've got Bull Market Fantasy live at 10:45 a.m. this morning over on bullmarketfantasy.com. You got to tune in because they're going to be talking about waiver wire. You and Bill Enright, and it's going to be fantastic.
Well, and it's going to be very stock oriented today.
Yes, it is. I'm very much looking to my stock versus stat segment. Mm-hmm. All right, Jim, thank you so much for joining us. Guys, thanks for watching. If you're watching on Facebook or on TheStreet.com, we are now heading over to our Action Alerts Plus Daily Rundown show over on ActionAlertsPlus.com. I'm Catherine Ross, and I'll see you tomorrow.